We don't know. We'll see.
We don't. Hello. Happy Thursday before Easter. I don't know about you, but I've done no Easter shopping, no Easter anything. And sadly, I don't have any little people to do Easter eggs for anymore. But, we do what we can. And I'm going to, I'm probably going to go to church in the park. How about you, Sherinanna? Any big plans?
I'm going to Florida.
What?
Yeah.
You're coming to my home state?
Hey, you're in Florida.
When? Where? What?
Yeah, I'm going to Florida. Yeah, I'm going to visit my family there. So
great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Jan Edwards with Paving the Way Foundation. And tonight I have such a treat for you. You know, we do these monthly parent tech talks, and mainly it's law enforcement or mental health counselors or other, organizations that are in the fight against human trafficking. And Sherinanna and I talked about a month and a half ago, and then we talked again a couple of weeks ago. And the first time she and I talked, I said to her, I want to have you on one of my parent tech talks. And I really didn't, I know what you do, but I really didn't know why. And then the past 4 weeks, we've been in front of, probably a little over 2,000 young people, all right? Anywhere from 5th grade up to high schoolers.
Yeah.
And how I've been starting my conversations has been, it's been a couple of years, right? It's been crazy a couple of years. And just to watch the young people's shoulders drop, oh, thank God somebody's saying something.
Yeah.
And I thought, and so this is so poignant because, and how I've been letting everybody know that we're doing this tonight is we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on out in the world, right?
Yeah.
But mostly, I want you to share a little bit about your background, share what had you, start this journey. And I really want to give parents and grandparents and aunties and uncles and anybody else who watches this video tips on how to manage stress, because it's been super stressful. It still is super stressful. The only difference is it's a different year, right? And so it's really, it's such perfect timing. And people will be able to go back to this video and remember the tools you gave them and the little insights that we share with them. So just welcome, Sherinanna. I'm so happy you're here tonight. And I just go ahead and share with our audience a little bit about you, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. I am... That's always a tough question for me, Jan, because
I know.
I guess
pick any lane. You're just extraordinary.
I'm an emotional detox coach. Well, it kind of evolved into that because I wrote a book. I'm primarily a writer. Emotional Detox was my 7th book. I wrote it when my life was am I allowed to swear on Facebook? When my life was in a crap show. I'll say it. I don't know what happens.
It's all good. No, it's all good.
Okay. And I just, everything was a mess. Right. And I'm assuming some people can relate to that, right? When everything,
I'd assert everyone can relate to this.
Right. This is pre-pandemic. So we can all kind of relate to everything being disheveled, rug pulled out from underneath you, kind of feel you don't know what to expect. You don't know where you're going to go. You learn who your true friends are, who's not your friend. Some relationships get stronger, some fall. I mean, kind of like what we've been going through. So I went through that several years ago, and I ended up saying to myself, I need an emotional detox, right? And I started researching and gathering all the data together, and I was going to therapy, and I have been through a few therapists, and I was having a hard time finding a therapist because I had all this knowledge about emotions. And I was like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work, because I didn't want to be in a place where I was going to re-traumatize myself.
Yes.
So it's kind of like what you're talking about, Jan, where you brought it up to the kids. It's been a heck of a 2 years. And I think some people aren't bringing up because they don't want to they feel like it's so much to bring up and they don't want to get off track kind of thing. There is a little bit of a dance. So anyway, I ended up writing Emotional Detox, and I created a foundation, and it's based on this. Number one, an emotional detox is not about getting rid of your emotions. It's about getting to them. Okay. So let's be clear.
That is so beautiful. I want you to say that again.
Yeah. Well, this is how I wrote it. Okay. This is the first of 3 emotional detox books. So it's based on the core principles, that we're not getting rid of your emotions. We're getting to them. Okay. That's what purpose of an emotional detox. The second core principle, all emotions are good so long as you process them. All emotions are good. That includes guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, everything. They're all good as long as you process them. You have to think about them like food, right? When food is undigested in the body, it creates symptoms, inflammation, discomfort, all of it. Right? Same thing with your emotions. When they're unprocessed in the body or overprocessed, like food, right? We overprocess emotions by overthinking, overanalyzing, reviewing, and going over. And that's why I was so careful about where I landed with what type of therapy was going to work for me, because I didn't want to do the overprocessing thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I so get it. It's interesting. I have several friends that are survivors and, survivor warriors. And they're like, look, I don't want to talk about what I did. That's just not my thing. Yeah. So some of them sew, some of them do art, some of them do horseback riding, some of them use emotional animals, right? They do what works for them. And I think with any trauma, we have to work through what that was so we can get to the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to have you say it one more time. Emotional detox is not getting rid of your emotions. It's getting to the what?
It's getting to them, because they get covered up. And how do we cover them up? We cover them up by, well, number one, you're always pulling out, we don't talk about them, right? We pretend that everything's fine. We distract ourselves. We don't let ourselves go off task, right? I'm thinking in terms of perhaps the world that you're living in and what you're teaching. So when we are constantly managing other people, so I'm looking from it, and I used to be a school psychologist, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I worked in the school system. So I know what that's like, to try to just keep everybody on the same page, and you're just trying to teach something and get something accomplished.
Yeah.
Do your job and do it well and help the kids that really are ready. And it's very, very, very challenging because you have so many different needs. But I will say it's a far less challenging if you just take, 10 minutes a day to let, like what you said, to acknowledge and let people process what they feel. Now, here's the thing. The reason that we haven't been doing that is because we really didn't know how, and nobody wants to go back into it again because everyone's like afraid. I don't want to go to the trauma again. Yeah. It's too much. I don't know if I'm up for that. I'm already hurting, right? I want to feel better. Makes perfect sense why we cover up, avoid, distract. Some of us do emotional eating. Some of us, smoke. Some of us, work more. It's whatever it is, even like bitching, complaining, gossiping. These are all ways that we can cover up our emotions. So emotional detox are about getting to the emotions. We're not getting rid of them. So what are we getting rid of? We're getting rid of reactions. Okay, so let me define a reaction. A reaction is the way that you make the uncomfortable comfortable.
I love that.
You're funny. Yeah. A reaction is the way you make the uncomfortable comfortable. So some people make a joke, right? It's not that it's not good to joke, but if it's a way that you're managing the emotions of yourself and others in the room, you could be kind of getting in the way a little bit of an opportunity for someone to feel something. It's not the end of the world. We have this thing that we're going to fall apart and we're going to be a mess. That's not the case. That's a reaction. If you're a mess and falling apart, you're in reactivity. You're not feeling. If you're feeling, you're going to feel connected. You're going to feel grounded. You're going to feel safe. True feeling, without all the reactivity, you are connected to something greater. You do not feel powerless. That's all reactive stuff.
This is so good. I just like came off a weekend of actually talking about, reacting and emotions and the things that we do. And somebody likened it to, we're like toasters. We're like toasters. You say something, I react. I say something, you react. So we're just toasters popping all the time and not really being able to be like, hang on, what did they say?
Yeah.
What'd she say? Why'd you say that? Okay, well, this is interesting. I love the pausing to get to the source of the reaction. And the reason why predators have been able to get to our kids is because we're uncomfortable with this conversation. That's why this is so perfect. When you and I talked, I'm like, I need you. Because our parents need you.
Yeah.
I literally just, the reason why, like, we literally slid in here right at 8:01 is we're doing a project with UCF. Not with them, but with them, if that makes any sense at all. The University of Central Florida. And in order to do that, it's called ICOR, and it's being funded by the National Science Foundation. And they work you through the lean business model canvas. What does this have to do with anything, right? So let's just kind of give you the context. So part of the process is we go out into the community to do interviews. So we interview people, right? So we'll have probably about 50 interviews by tomorrow entered into our little database. And I just got done talking to several parents, six sets of parents plus a mom, so 7. And the questions I ask, I'm asking for a reason. It's not a judgment. It's not a judgment-free zone. But you could tell that they were like, I never thought about that before. I don't know how to respond, and they're judging themselves. And one parent asked me this most brilliant question. She said, because I told her, right, that the kids are like, oh. She said, is that something we should talk about? I said, 100%. I'm inviting you to be completely transparent.
Yes.
The past 2 years have been hell for us too.
Yeah.
Every day something's changing. We don't know what's up or down or right or left. And then we're trying to create some semblance of normalcy for our kids when we don't even know what normalcy is.
Right.
And I said to my friends, I said, sometimes, I said, this is what it feels like. If you're in Yemen or the Gaza Strip, you don't know what's going to happen today. You just don't.
Yeah.
And you got to take what you're doing as it's like it's moment by moment. You got to plan for the future. So having these kinds of conversations are so important. And I love that we're going to walk through what a detox is, what a emotional detox is, the 3 cores. And then we're going to teach parents some things, right?
Yeah. Yes, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think again, the mindset is really important. And that when I was creating emotional detox, that I knew that needed to happen because as a school psychologist, I had a lot of tools. I mean, teachers have tools, parents have tools. We're always being thrown tools, right? But if you don't have a foundation, a system, a belief system that they lay upon. So yes, the tools are great, but if you apply them on a foundation where emotions are bad, or there's good ones and bad ones, then it doesn't work so great, right? It's like you may maybe have a little bit of an effect. So it's so important that the foundation is part of the tool, right? So it's that mindset. All emotions are good so long as they're processed. And then it becomes, okay, well, how do I know when something's unprocessed, right? And you're pretty good at reading a room, right? You're very natural at when you walk in a room and you just know what to say, right? How to kind of break that ice. not everyone is skilled at that, because that's what happens when you're constantly protecting and numbing and layering things on. You're kind of breaking things open, right? You're opening up hearts, you're opening up, this is feeling, right? When you have these conversations that touch and tell stories and share feelings, you're breaking people open. But what that does is it helps you to read a room better. And you don't just layer stuff on, because you know what? They're not going to hear you.
And
Right?
it's been so interesting that, you know, because I'm addressing the massive elephant in the room,
Sure.
and they're just all like, whew,
Yeah. Yeah.
God, somebody's saying something.
Exactly. So you mentioned that person said, should we be talking about it? Absolutely. And in terms of the emotional detox, so that what happens is you have the mindset, and then the second half of it is the cleanse. So the cleanse is the process. Emotional detox is the mindset. Cleanse is the 7-step mindful process. It starts with the C and it ends with an E. So the first step in the cleanse is called clear reactivity. And what we're doing there is we're resetting the nervous system. So the first thing that you do every day is you reset that. Now, what does that look like? Well, you can do, it's called vagus nerve toning, right? That's for trauma. We know that the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body, starts at the nape of the neck. It crosses the throat. That's why we have trouble talking, right? Having a voice. We have all sorts of symptoms. Then it goes all throughout the body, hits almost every single organ. It goes through the intestines, and then it goes out through the colon. So it influences everything. But what we know, what I learned about the vagus nerve in studying trauma, is that it responds to touch the best, right? It responds to things like what you were talking about in terms of singing or moving your body, exercising, getting outside, drinking water, because you're hitting that nerve. So every time you swallow, you're toning your vagus nerve, right? So if we're not drinking, which a lot of kids are not drinking all day long, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Just little small sips of water available for people. That can make a big difference for people in terms of if you're reading a room and you're seeing, or if your kid gets in the car and they're like, you can just tell, you know, parents know, they know how to read their kids. They're a little droopy. They look a little heavy. You don't know what they've walked through all day. You don't know the vibrations that they've been picking up, what they eavesdropped on, what they heard, what they saw. We don't know, right? So when you sense that, parents, we don't just, okay, how was your day? Oh, it was fine. Okay, that's good. And then we move on, right? So we can help them by, you know, let's stop and get a nice cold drink of water. Let's think of toning their nerve. Think, okay, first thing I got to do is help this child tone their vagus nerve. It might be, you know, a matter of just, you know, going outside a little bit or taking a walk with your child, or saying, hey, let's go sit on the deck and sit in the sun, and you know, the sun tones the vagus nerve. Simple things. And singing, put on some music. They like to sing.
I love that.
Then get them to sing, get them to even imagine singing. It does, you know, but we want to be toning. Gargling is a good thing. So if your kids are super shy or just embarrassed by this whole thing, they're in middle school, encourage them to gargle every single day. That sends vibration on that vagus nerve. So vagus nerve is about fight, flight, or freeze response. It numbs things. Okay. Yeah. So that's why we have to tone it every single day. And what they showed on stroke patients is they got better when they had vagal toning daily. When they stopped, they went back. Right? Everything got affected in terms of blood pressure, circulation, everything that helps your brain work better. So number one of the cleanse is you want to clear reactivity. I do it a lot. I teach yoga. So I do a lot of neck stretches. You know, I do a lot of that. And breathing, right? Starting a day with inhale. And parents, breathe before your kids get in the car, right? A lot of us parents, myself included, sometimes we're on our phones. We're just taking up that last second to search and do this. You're not breathing, right? So guess what? When the kids get in the car, they pick up that you haven't been breathing. You feel similar to the way it feels in school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or worse, because they can't feel you. They know you're distracted. They know. So just make a point 5 minutes before the bus comes or whatever, put your phone down, take a few nice, deep cleansing breaths. Inhale through the nose, out through the mouth, and make it your intention that you're going to clear any reactivity. So that
that right there would save so many teenage fights.
Yeah. Well, they feel the vibration because if we're mirroring them, if we're shut down, they're shut down, then there's no room for connection here. There's no room for opening because, like you said, you're so great at going in the room and you make a connection, right? Because we want to open up. And that way they share what's going on, how they're feeling. We can't control what's going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one Jan.
I know. I'm working on that, girl. I am so working on that.
Replicate yourself.
Kind of.
Right. But, but what we can do is build that inner strength. That's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for inner strength, inner awareness. And again, we're always mirroring. So that first step is clear reactivity, right? Now, if I'm someone who something came up for me, that second step is called look inward. And by the way, Emotional Detox Network, it's over here. I get confused on where I'm looking. And I wrote 135 emotional detoxes in that book. Yeah. And it's because everybody kept asking me. So I have the core book, which describes what an emotional detox is. My personal stories in that one. I have emotional detox for anxiety because I had to redefine that after I wrote the book. I couldn't look at anxiety the same way. Right?
No.
Anxiety in my terms is an emotion looking to be processed, but can't because you won't let it.
So that is brilliant. Okay, you're going to have to say that again because I'm going to make that a post. Anxiety, that is so brilliant.
Well, I had to change it because I wrote Emotional Detox and I'm like, okay, now I can't look at anxiety the same way. I turned into a second book. Anxiety is an emotion looking to be processed, but can't because you won't let it. It's like you fight yourself. You resist, right? We do anything. We'd rather go down and be in our blood and tears before we let ourselves feel something.
It's
right?
True.
Right. I mean, we'd rather just, I was talking to somebody today and it was like something didn't work out in this person's way. At least that was their viewpoint. And I was like, but that's your view. How do you know it didn't work out for you? Right? How do you know this isn't the most peaceful resolution that you could possibly have? Right? If we're looking to win, to prove our point, to have, to make sure somebody gets their consequence, all of that stuff, we're in a state of resistance. We're going to recycle in anxiety. I'm not saying let the bad guys off the hook here, right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is tap into who we really are, right? We are spiritual beings first, right? And when you are around this kind of dark, heavy stuff, a lot of the stuff that you deal with, which is dark and heavy, the way we overcome is we have to tap into this higher spiritual, we have to raise our vibration, right? Yeah. When we raise our vibration through feeling our emotions, you build resiliency, you build buoyancy, and anything that comes around you that is dark or heavy or not good or doesn't have goodwill intentions, it won't last. It just, you become like bug repellent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's so interesting because I was on a call earlier this week. Well, earlier, yesterday. I swear I live an entire lifetime in a day. Yeah. And She does training, compassion care training for frontline workers, right? And
Yeah.
so the conversation, it's not exact, but very similar to, there's compassion fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it 2 years ago. You saw it last year, right? These
Mm-hmm.
nurses and doctors that were working 48 hours, 72 hours at a time, trying to deal with what we're dealing with in the world. And it's exhausting,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're supposed to get back up and do it again without processing in between. So
Right.
I am so happy we're having this conversation. And I'm glad we had our mind first, so you could actually weave all of this into what we do and what our parents are dealing with in
Right.
talking about online exploitation, because it is dark.
It
It
is.
is uncomfortable.
Yeah. And we don't know how to protect our kids, right? And that's scary. We don't know, and we put blinders on, right? We avoid it because it can seem like too much. And I appreciate people like you that are saying it's not too much. You can do this, right?
And your kids want to know.
And your kids want to know.
Kids want to know. And that's the best. So I had an interview this morning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I said, they're relieved, first of all, that someone's talking about this. And they're so thankful that we're having a real conversation about something they're dealing with every single day.
Yeah, that's right.
They get DMs from strangers they don't know. They're getting inappropriate requests, and they're over it. Like, they're so over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to be able to bring this up, and we had a table at an elementary school last week, and I had 3 of my interns and a mission ambassador there. They said the parents would literally walk around the table and not even make eye contact. Okay. Oh, no, not my kid. But then we have a thing on our table with every single app on it. And so, not my kid, that kid's going, I have that app and I have that app and I have that app. So there's this huge disconnect about reality and perception with parents. Fascinating.
So the reason I call this book Emotional Detox Now is because here's another tip. All emotional processing happens in the now. So in terms of you go and there's more than one meaning to that. Always go to whatever the closest thing is. So another reason that people run is they don't want to dig in too much, right? So I would just start right there. So if I'm a parent, and when I saw the table on sexual exploitation, it made me feel. That's it. When I saw the table, not approaching the table, not getting information, just when I saw it, what did that feel like? What did that feel like in your body? I'm imagining that got tense, they get tight, right? And what do? They flee. They freeze and they flee. You have to start where people are at.
It's brilliant. It's really brilliant. Yeah.
And some of them might be in the hallway, and we have to find a way to reach them. We have to go to the hallway, right? We can't expect them to walk in the room and say, okay, sign up for this, parents. We're having it on Thursday nights. Hope you can come. We'll bring pizza. And I know, right? If they're not there, we have to find a way to reach them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's funny because the dialogue conversation we had this morning was, I said, it's like, bring us into your school. Really. Let us do the heavy lifting. Let us have this conversation with your kids. I said, our whole goal is to have kids run home and be like, Mom, you were right.
Yes.
What parent doesn't want to hear that?
Exactly.
Dad, thank you.
Right.
It's like we're building these little warriors, these little abolitionists to be like, not on my watch. Not happening. Nope. I know, so it's very empowering for them. And then to be able to come home with their parents and be like, Mom, guess what I learned? Remember that thing we keep talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right. Now, that may never happen, by the way.
Right. Right. And,
but you'll see a change in your kids' behavior.
well, you realize this pandemic was not on our side for several reasons. I mean, parents aren't going into school buildings anymore, right? I mean, it prevented us from
Mhm.
entering. Like if you didn't have a mask or, were you allowed? Did you have to call ahead? Hopefully we can start to bring some of those community things back again, because that's how you're going to build safety.
It
People
is.
need to feel like they belong before
Mhm.
they are willing to say, oh yeah, I'll come out on Thursday night. They need to see faces. They need to feel like there's a sense of community, and people
Mhm.
actually care to say hello to them. And so hopefully that will come back.
Well, we're there in Florida. We're there.
Oh, that's right. You guys are, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are. We
Yeah.
are here. And in other places it's not, and so that's I
I'm in
think
Massachusetts, so it's not
yes.
as warm and fuzzy.
And I think as part of that, just to kind of bounce off your point, is parents can create that little environment. They
Yes.
can be like, okay, we're going to do a Zoom call. You get your beverage of choice, and from 8 to
Yeah.
9, we're going to bring Jan on and we're going to have straight dialogue, right? That's
Yes.
what we're going to do. Because with adults, this platform works. I won't do it with young people. I won't do it. I got to see eyeballs. I got to see body language. I got to see it all. So then we can actually have conversations with the teachers and everybody else, right?
Right, right. Yeah. They're zoomed out. But yes, I agree. That's the advantage. So yeah, you meet people where they're at. I mean, if your child is off in their room, then we have to go to their room,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We have to find a way to open that door. And it might be a matter of asking them what they enjoy, right? What are you
Mhm.
listening to?
Yeah.
And not just going in and noticing the negative, right? Oh,
My daughter used to invite me to go to MegaCon. I went to MegaCon 3 or 4 years in a row. I don't remember.
uh-huh.
I appreciate comics.
Yes.
She loved them,
Yeah.
right? So, but I went.
Yeah.
I'm like, my kid invites me, I'm going. Right? My kid says, well, let's do this. I'm going. I'm never not going to go if she's like, hey, mom, will you or can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. Yeah. Okay. So step 2, what we got, step 1 was clear
So
reactivity.
step two is look inward, and again, that's going to identify the emotion without getting into it. So I give lots and lots of STEM sentences for that, sentence starters for people, because parents don't know how to start that conversation. And I love the term, do you want to cleanse, right? So I've got 3 daughters, and if one of them's upset about something or bothered, I will literally say, do you want to cleanse together? I'll do a cleanse with you. And they love it, right? And again, you can just open up the book and you can just read it out loud and go through the steps. I would learn it yourself first, practice.
Yeah.
And my kids will actually say yes now. Okay, I'll cleanse. I'll ask my husband, do you want to cleanse on that? Right. And sometimes I say no, but at least I offer. They know what I mean. What I mean is there's something coming up to be healed. There's something coming up to be processed. So look inward is identifying the emotions. How did that make you feel when you saw the table? Right. And then the third step is called emit, which is now we're bringing in vibration, because we got to increase vibration to create the process.
Emit, as in EMIT?
EMIT.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the formula that I use, I put together, we use sound vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So mantra, emit.
Yeah.
And then the next one is activate. So now we've cleared reactivity. So we've toned our vagus nerve. So we're not in fight or flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, we're identifying, when I saw that made me feel, right? When I saw my child has that app, or when my child is on their phone a lot, I get that. It makes me feel. Inhale. Exhale. Let it unravel. Let it all come up.
Mm-hmm.
Emit would be vibration, right? You can do that in many ways.
Sing. That's where singing would come in too, right?
Nice humming sound can do it. Now we're at the A, activate. Activate is, okay, I've got vibration, right? And now you're shifting, right? So if I'm not fearful, then I'm calm, right? If I'm not afraid, then I'm feeling stable, right? I'm feeling more stable. A lot of parents feel rattled. So you start to feel that energy. So activate is more visualizing, okay? Feeling, visualizing that stability, that inner strength, that calm. And then nourish gives you further tools to kind of deepen that experience. S is surrender. So there's a free will statement in there, right? We actually have to choose these things, right? We have to choose calm. We have to choose, but it's hard to choose something if your vibration's low.
Right.
If your vibration's high, we've had the emit. We're going into, okay, I know what direction I'm in. I'm going from fear to calm, to love, to patience sometimes, right? To understanding, to love, all of these. So anyway, we're heading there, and now we're in the nourishing step, and then we go into
step 5 is nourish.
Nourish, yeah. Step 6 is surrender, right? Which is an allow, right? It's not giving up. It's what you're allowing. Connection, communication, right? What are you allowing?
So good.
Safety.
So good.
Confidence. And then ease is the last step. And that's the I am. That's where you embody. So now it's I am. I'm not just allowing I am. That's the I am present. So this is the 7th step. You can see how they sort of escalate. They go.
Yeah. So
and then you land at the end, right? And you take your time. And if there was, a little emotional detox tip I would get is sometimes we're so interested in how our kids answer that we don't pay attention. And I know you got this intuitively, Jan. We don't pay attention to when they've shifted.
Yes.
Right? Just stop worrying about what they say, right? As in terms of validation of whether they heard you or they're getting it. Feel their energy. And do you feel them shift? If they relax, they've shifted. They get it. Don't pound it in them. And make sure you don't do this. Make sure you don't do that. Don't do
the finger waggling.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's the thing I share with parents.
You
got to get 2 things. Prefrontal cortex not cooked yet.
That's right.
I said, when you're in the world of they should know.
Yeah.
That they don't. They honest to God don't. Yeah. And so when you get
intuition doesn't come from there. It comes, right? It's a shift. It's a feeling. Let them marinate in the shift. So when you felt those kids go, they've shifted. They're present. Not much has to be said after that, Jan. Right? We're together now. Now they're on the same page. And then less is more. Less is more. That's why I love what you do with your film, right? It says it all. You don't need to say much more after that.
We really don't. Yeah. And I want to make sure we get the 7th step that I type it in. So, because when people go back and watch it.
7 is ease.
Yeah. Because when people go back and watch this video, right, they'll be able to get all 7 steps.
Yeah.
Because this is such valuable information.
Yeah.
Especially for today. And, the thing I want to say is, even if you don't have kids, okay, you could be an auntie or an uncle or a grandma or a grandpa, or quite frankly, a big sibling, a big sister, a big brother. This is relevant for you too, because we're all dealing with something every single day.
Yeah.
You know, you wake up and you're like, oh, I wonder what rule is changing today. Right? Or I
That's
wonder every day it's new. And people will say, hey, Jan, did you see the XYZ? I said, look, I don't spend a lot of time on social media. I just don't.
yeah.
You know, and I know I need to. My little interns are like, you have to get TikTok and Snapchat. I'm like, great, I've got them. You're going to have to show me how to use them because I still don't understand Instagram. It's the same thing as Facebook to me.
Yeah.
The same thing. Anyway, I I have a lot of opinions about that.
Yes.
And it's back to your point. It's where people are.
Yes. Yeah.
So in order for us to be effective,
Right. Gotcha.
we got to meet them in the hallway. That's their hallway,
Yes, it's
you
TikTok.
know.
I hear you.
And
I'm not on TikTok either, and I'm being told that all the time. You're not on TikTok? I'm like,
yeah, you know what? Yeah, I've got some great video ideas for you on TikTok. Just
yeah.
just like, okay, we're gonna do step 1 today.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
and then people can save them and
yeah,
all of that because that's and you know we're gonna start. My interns are brilliant. I love the ones that I just love them all.
yeah,
Whether it's 2.5 years ago or the yet to be interns because they come up with such great ideas because this is their world.
yeah. It is. It is.
And I'm just like, Jesus, take the wheel here. There you go.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, we did some people don't really know what tapping is. Not everybody
Yeah.
knows what tapping is, but you
Yeah.
and I did some tapping. And I
Yeah.
think
Mm-hmm.
because this was my vision for part of this conversation. I
Sure.
love the detox and I definitely want to put you
Well,
know,
tapping is one of the tools
yep.
in this book, which so basically there's 135 detoxes. It follows the same system, and I will throw in new tools into
Hmm.
one.
And so
So
when
they
I
learn a lot. Like there's like 50 different vagus nerve toning tools, right?
yeah.
So you're getting lots of different variations, but within the same framework. Because, like you said, for anxiety or for even just for learning, right? We need consistency and we need repetition, right? We can't be do this one and this is how, everyone's trying to learn something new, tries. So it's the same structure, will always be cleanse. You will always start at the C and you will always end at the E. And that will never change. Within there are different things to play with, right? That can benefit. Tapping is one of them. So it's the simple fear tap, which is right here on the side of the hand, and you can tap with 2 fingers.
And what does that do?
That can be your clear reactivity. That could be your step one day, right? Mm-hmm. So you could just sit here and just tap, and it could also be integrated into step 2, right? So very often what I will do, like for example, I could do step 1, toning my vagus nerve. Okay, I'm going to take a drink of my Spindrift, which is, I'm a little bit of addicted to these. Have you ever had one?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God.
I like bubblies.
Well, it's light bubbly. Like it doesn't mean I don't like bubblies where they make you burp.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't like that. Most carbonated stuff, I don't like that. This does not do that to you.
Nice.
By the way, I'll be a spokesperson. Yes. And I hope Spindrift sees this and sends me some because I could use some extra. But anyway.
Well, I like that list because here's what I had in my head right when we were talking.
Yeah.
Was with parents, I'm like, once you start this dialogue, once you open it up and you be like, hey, this is what I heard, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And your kids come to you and they're squirmy and they're uncomfortable and they're like, Mom, I remember that thing we talked about. And immediately what in my head, I was like, parents going, tell me about it, honey. Like, so they're calming themselves down while their kids are spilling their guts so they don't lose it.
So there is traditional, I am not trained in tapping. I use my own version of tapping. I do know acupressure points and I know the value of tapping from what's called energy medicine. So I learned it from that branch.
Yes.
The way I use it, for example, so toning clear, step 1 of the cleanse, you'll always start at the C, clear reactivity. You could do a stretch, right?
Yep.
That's it. You can do, a neck stretch. You can take a couple sips of water like I just did. and
Right.
I'm just toning that vagus nerve and swallowing kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Okay, then I'm ready for step 2. I like to put the tapping there, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
now I'm doing my fear tap, and I'm checking in. I'm saying how I feel in my body right now is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And what I'm envisioning is parents are like, okay, honey, I'm ready. That's going to freak a kid out. But
yeah,
if the parent's like, okay, honey, I'm ready. But it's like, shall we tap together? Shall we breathe together before we have this
yeah, yeah.
conversation?
I
Get,
would do it either
yeah.
before you talk to them or after you talk to them,
Yeah.
right? And see how it goes. I think it's important to do it for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
parents, right? And I think if you sit, the most important thing of an emotional detox is you got to find 10 minutes of your day where you're going to go through a process.
Yep.
10 minutes, okay? I do mine first thing in the morning with my cup of coffee. 10 minutes. Some people meditate, but a lot of us parents, let's face it, we don't, it's kind of hard to go off. If I still can't, my kids are older. I still get interrupted. My husband will be like, oh, is the coffee hot enough? Excuse me? Like I'm literally, the other day, I jumped because I was in a meditation. I was like, ah! You know what I mean? I like, this is not, but the cleanse I love because I can stop, I can look around, I can go let the dog out, I can get up and I can go back to, okay, I'm on the L now. Okay. How I feel my body right now is, and when I think about, my child on social media, it makes me feel, and just breathing. Then I'm going to go to emit and I'm going to create some vibration. I could also do, emit can be this. It's more of a sound though, like a hum or a lum or any kind of vam, ram. Ram is power center. Lots of options there. I put them all in the book.
I
Okay.
love that. Now, you know what? I want you to give me the website for your book too, because I'm a fan of people using resources. Well, so let's do your website first.
It's SherinannaBoyle.com. So in the emit, the E, I give all sorts of mantras that you can throw in there. You
Good.
pick what feels right for you, right? And then but again, it's going to take, I say 10 minutes, but when I do it with the book, and I like the book because it structures me, it's 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
When I'm on my own, if I do it with the book and I'm reading it out loud and I'm going from C to E, it takes me 5 minutes. And I want you to notice, everybody, how you feel before and how you feel after. And I think that's just as important, because you're going to know, it's important for you to notice, wow, I didn't realize how tense I was before I started. And it's 7:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, you don't expect, right? But we wake up with it because we've had dreams. We went to bed with unresolved things. Things linger. They go into the next day. So make a note to yourself. Okay, I'm sitting down, I'm noticing myself, do the 5 minutes, and then write it down in a little journal or something.
Yeah.
How I feel now. I feel, and most of the time people say they feel more grounded. I get that a lot. Calmer, right? More lighter. I hear that a lot, feeling lighter, like I'm not so heavy. And if you do that every day, your body's going to get used. It's like filling your car up with gas. You don't have to worry. My car's full. I don't have to worry so much when my car's full, right? If I'm running on empty, I'm always thinking, oh, I better get gas. I better get gas.
Yes.
Right? When you fill up every day, when you feel, then you walk around with a full tank. You're not thinking about, oh, I got to make sure I get gas just in case. I got plenty of gas.
Well, as much as I love and appreciate the airline, put your oxygen mask on first, right?
Yeah.
It's very much the same piece. One of my favorite books that I read decades ago was Oh my gosh. The Road Less Traveled.
Oh, I love that book.
Love that book.
I love that book too. I haven't heard
And
about that in years. Yeah.
yeah, and the second book he wrote, they talk about they took the highest level of military people and put them all in a room, and they tested them for weeks to see how did you become so elite, right, in the
Mhm.
health and fitness and intellect and all that stuff. And the one of the questions they asked them was, name your top 3 priorities, and they had an hour to answer that question. Well, the first person turned it in at 45 minutes.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And every single one of them, their priorities were God, myself, family.
Hmm.
And they said, or higher power, right?
Mhm.
This is a long time ago, so it's probably God. Um, but they said they put themselves first
Mhm.
before everybody else after God, was because if they didn't have themselves, nobody had them. And I
Mm.
thought that was so powerful, and it's such a great place to stand for. No, I need 7 or 8 hours of sleep so I can be there for you,
Yes.
the other
Yes.
16, right?
Yes. Yeah.
No, I need to stop and eat so I can be there for you. No,
That's
I'm going to go take my 15-minute walk so I can be there for, I'm doing this for me, and you're going to get the benefit.
that's right. Love that.
Yeah, it's really powerful, and that's what this
Yeah.
feels like is. So,
Yeah.
so they can get your book at SherinannaBoyle.com, or because
Amazon, Barnes and Noble.
I order my books via
Yeah.
Thrift Books.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the first book?
The first.
It's Emotional Detox.
Yes, I have of the three. I mean, I have 9 books.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, but the first one's of the series, emotional detox for anxiety. Right.
Mm.
That's a good one. I also have 2 parenting books.
You do?
Yeah, I have the conscious, where is it? Yeah, this is yeah. The Conscious Parenting Guide to Childhood Anxiety. This is really
Mhm.
good. And it's got a lot of really good
You're
research in
going
it.
to have to spell conscious for me because I don't want to
I
write it out, but
It's
I'm just
the
telling you.
Conscious CONSCIOUS Parents Guide to Childhood Anxiety.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about mindful ways to approach anxiety.
Hmm.
I
That is brilliant. Conscious Parents Guide
get
to
a lot of good
Anxiety.
feedback on this book. And
Well,
and
and especially now, because some of the conversations that I'm having with some of these kids is, they're like, it'd be great if there was a way for us to talk about mental health. Like, it'd be great if there was a way for us to talk about, right? And they
yes.
just keep listing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're clear they need stuff. They're clear
Yes.
they need stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also know you do appointments, right? Because
Oh
I have
yeah.
an appointment with you.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so people can reach out to you via your website to contact you if they want to either get your book or set up an appointment, or
I
you
do.
know.
SherinannaBoyle.com
Yep.
contact page there. You'll see. Yeah, I do. And the kids love the work because I also do a lot of spirituality. They love that. They're really a lot of kids want to hear about those conversations,
Yeah,
and
they do.
um, they want to be talking about this stuff. So if they're not going to church or doing something, there is a thirst for that. I'm finding,
Mhm.
right?
There is. There
Um,
is.
and it's not all woo woo, right? But just really getting to understand yourself as a spiritual being, right? And that's the place where you're most powerful.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For
Yeah,
sure. Well, this
definitely.
This has been so fun. I'm so glad. I feel so special. Like 3 times in, like less than
I know.
4 weeks, 5 weeks. So
No,
great.
it's
Yeah, it's such a great conversation, especially now for our parents to have. So if you can, it's like you to leave our parents with 1 or 2 little tips, because I got the breathing
yeah,
and really activating the vagus nerves and going for a walk. But like, what's 1 or 2 other things that, like, when they get off this or they listen to this, conversation, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to take on this tomorrow. So what's 1 or 2 real simple things that they can do that doesn't seem overwhelming, doesn't seem scary, and seems manageable?
I think I think the main thing is to really make sure that we are present, like the good old fashioned listening, right? I think that is the communication, really hearing your child, really reflecting what they're saying. So, here's what I hear you saying, or really, really let them know that you've heard them, right? Repeat back what you've heard so that they feel like you're paying attention, right? I think that is so important. I think also make sure you're getting support. And I know that's a really tough thing for people. I dealt with that too, raising my kids. Some people have a lot of support, some people have hardly any, or
Right.
the kind of support they have is not really the best, right? It causes a lot of problems, but that's all they have, kind of thing. So in terms of, don't be afraid to ask for even your kids to help out a little
Yeah.
bit, right? Don't assume you can't say, hey, can you empty the dishwasher?
Right.
Right? Like it's okay. It actually builds them up. They need to feel a purpose, right? And learning those life skills. That's what social media has really,
Mhm.
the amount of time that we're spending and the amount of life skills. So teaching them very basic life skills is going to empower them. And whether it's around the house or some kind of kind of getting back to the basics again, Jan.
Mhm. Mhm. My daughter came home. One of my favorite stories is just
Mm,
shares. My daughter came home, and because I'm a huge fan of critical thinking, right? And I think it's
mm,
missing. And I say this out loud, and I'll stand by it. It's missing in our schools.
mm,
And the teachers will agree, right? I've never had a pushback from a teacher or a counselor. And she came home one day, and she's like, "Mom, I think it was 6th or 7th grade." She goes, "Mom, we were talking about the top 10 chores. I
mhm.
do all of them but one. I don't mow the lawn. I think I should get a raise. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do
Yeah,
this." Right? She was doing her own laundry at 10.
yeah,
And I looked at her. I said, "Sweet pea, you're going to get a raise, but not because you do chores. That's part of being a family." I said, "I am going to give you an allowance raise because you did the thinking.
mhm,
You stated your case. It
mhm,
was logical. It was linear. It had value. It was valid. You had facts, right?
mhm.
You did the thinking. I was rewarding the thinking,
Mm, yeah,
right? And
yeah, that's
that's
great.
and,
Yeah,
and I think that's a way that we as parents can start to engage in different conversations with our kids,
that's right. I
you
like,
know?
yeah.
I really do. Well, Sherianna, as usual, it's been such a treat being with you. I thank you so much, and I know that people can find you if they want to get your book or set up an appointment with you. They can go to SherinannaBoyle.com, and I just thank you so much for being with us. And y'all will be here. Y'all need to be here next month. Next month's Parent Tech Talk is going to be amazing. It's Teen Takeover. We're going to have about 3 or 4 teenagers sharing with us what they wish their parents knew about
Awesome.
what's happening and how to talk to them and how to engage in a conversation that's not going to, end up with a slam door, a roll of an eye, or a whatever. So you want to be with us next month on our Parent Tech Talk. Sherianna, thank you so much again for being with us. And y'all have a safe and happy weekend. And for those of you who are listening live, have a great Easter weekend. For those of you that are going to get the replay, I wish you a very happy and glorious day. Y'all have a great night.